Hi everyone, welcome to today's video lecture. Today we will be talking about persuasive messages. This is the first part of persuasive messages. So in this video we'll be talking about persuasive requests, approaches to writing these messages, formatting, and strategies to reduce resistance of your audience and to motivate your reader. So, the ability to persuade. The ability to persuade is a key factor in the success that you achieve in your business, in your career, and your interpersonal relations. Persuasive individuals present convincing arguments that influence or win others over. When facts or figures alone are not convincing enough, arguments must be connected to people's desires and their needs. Applying this persuasive technique and many others can help you become a persuasive communicator. Because their ideas generally prevail, persuasive individuals become decision makers, managers, project leads, executives, and entrepreneurs. You can apply techniques for presenting ideas persuasively in your personal life and in your career. So let's take a look at persuasive requests. Persuasion is necessary when resistance is anticipated or when ideas require preparation before they can be presented effectively. So if you think of a time, maybe you had to convince someone of something and maybe you had to collect all your facts first and do some research so that you could convince them that your opinion was correct or that they should do this for you or with you. So you understand the necessity of doing your research and getting things together and really finding a way to persuade people to come over to your side, so to speak. So let's take an example of getting a new car. So we're going to be talking about persuasive requests, things that you would write mostly to companies. So you've got a new car, but the transmission constantly needs repair. And when you finally get tired of taking it in, you've spent a whole bunch of money, you decide to write to the manufacturer's head office and ask that they replace your transmission. So replacing the transmission is no cheap fix. It's like replacing the brain of the car. It's very expensive. And you've decided that that's what definitely needs to be done. So you know your request will have some resistance. This is not a quick fix. This is not a little knob or button. It's nothing cheap. So you must convince the manufacturer that replacement is needed, not repair, replacement. So keep this example in mind as we go throughout the video lecture today. Direct claim letters are straightforward. Persuasive requests, on the other hand, are generally more effective when they're indirect. So if you've seen the negative messages videos, you'll remember talking about the indirect method for delivering negative messages, and we'll be doing something very similar here, talking about persuasion. So your reasons and your explanations should precede the main idea. To overcome possible resistance, the writer needs to lay a logical foundation before they deliver their requests. So a writing plan for a persuasive request does, like most things, require deliberate development. Okay, so let's look at this writing request I'm talking about. So in the opening, of course, you need to get your reader's attention, get their interest. So describe the problem and you can state something that is unexpected, suggest a reader benefit, offer praise, compliments, or ask a stimulating question. Your body is the big part of your persuasive request. So here you're building interest, of course. You need to explain logically and concisely the purpose of your request, prove its merit, use facts, statistics, and expert opinion, examples, specific details, and direct and indirect benefits. Reduce resistance. You're trying to reduce resistance in your body. Anticipate the objections and offer counter arguments. Establish your credibility and demonstrate competence. Show the value of your proposal. And in your closing, you might be motivating to an action. So ask for a particular action, like replace the transmission. Try to make it easy and straightforward for them. Might not be cheap, but easy. And show courtesy, respect, and gratitude, one way or the other. So it's like when we want to be careful about sending negative messages to people we want to maintain a relationship with. It's the same idea in persuasive messages, persuasive requests. make sure that you do show respect and gratitude. So this writing plan should be applied to messages you're writing when you're going to request favors or action, or persuade within an organization, or make claims and request adjustments. So adjustments be made to something. All right, so let's look at requesting favors in action. Persuading someone to do something that largely benefits you is never easy. Fortunately, many individuals and companies are willing to grant requests for time, money, information, special privileges, cooperation, brochures, promotions, all kinds of things. They grant these favors, of course, for a variety of reasons, and they may sometimes just be interested in your particular project, or they see a potential goodwill, good advertisement for them. Often, though, companies will comply because they see that others will benefit from this, like a charity event. Professionals sometimes do feel obligated to contribute their time or expertise because it's their way of paying their dues. You may find that you have few direct benefits to offer in your persuasion. So when you're asking a company to give you something and you can't think of a lot of reasons why they should, instead, try focusing on the indirect benefits. So in asking for a favor, especially when you don't feel you have a lot of direct benefits you can write about, writing indirectly can offer enticement to the company or to the people. It must pique the interest of the reader in the opening. Suggest your writing needs to pique their interest. Suggest counter arguments to anticipate objections and give incentive to accept what you want in the body, and then supply information for an easy response in your closing. So here is a letter, action request. If you would like to read the whole letter, you can pause the video lecture and read it through. I'm just going to read part of it. Okay, so in the first paragraph it says, we're losing money on our current copy services and wasting the time of employees as well. Because our Canon copier is in use constantly, we find it increasingly necessary to send major jobs out to quick copy. Just take a look at how much we spent last month from outside copy services. So then they have the amount of money. They break it all down. And then they talk about when sales reps make the trip, the cost is even greater because you have to pay somebody to go and back and forth. So they talk more about money. And they say here, as you can see, a remanufactured copier saves us nearly $700 a month. Okay, so they're presenting facts that they're bringing to the person's attention. It is important to include numbers sometimes in your writing because people's eyes are drawn to them. They're quick. You get a lot of information out of them easily, quickly. So including numbers is always a good idea if it's applicable. All right. So then they provide some benefits for the other people, the people they're writing their request to. And then down here they say, with your approval before May 1st, we can have our machine by May 10th and start saving time and nearly $700 a month. Okay, so they repeat it like you do in an essay, in an academic essay. You repeat your thesis. Fast Action will also take advantage of Copy City's free startup incentive. That's always good. So there's an indirect benefit. All right, great. Now, what if we need to persuade within an organization? Well, instructions or directives moving downwards from superiors to subordinates usually require little persuasion because that's just how it is, right? Employees expect to be directed in how to perform their jobs. These messages, things like information about procedures, equipment, customer services, they follow the direct pattern, with the purpose being immediately stated because this is how it is. However, employees are sometimes asked to perform in a capacity outside their work roles or to accept changes that are not in their best interests, like pay cuts, job transfers, or reduced benefits. In these instances, a persuasive memo using the indirect pattern may be the most effective. So the goal is not to manipulate everyone, your employees, or to seduce them with some kind of trickery. Rather, the goal really is to present a strong but an honest argument, emphasizing points that are important to the receiver. Remember, reader benefits, or things like you view, reader benefits here. In business, honesty is not just the best policy, it's the only one you should be using. People can see right through a misrepresentation. For this reason, the indirect pattern is effective only when supported by accurate, honest evidence. So just be careful if you need to use the indirect method to persuade within an organization. Now, how about suggestions made by subordinates or employees, for example? So another form of persuasion within an organization can come from suggestions made by the employees. Convincing management to adopt a procedure or invest in a product or equipment generally requires skillful communication. This is no easy task. Managers are just as resistant to change as other people, maybe even more so. So providing evidence is critical when you as an employee want to submit recommendations. All right. Equally important is focusing on the receiver's needs. How can you make your suggestion appealing to the receiver? A successful persuasive message will typically take more space than a direct message because proving a case requires evidence. Here's an example letter. Again, if you would like to read the whole letter, you can pause the video. Okay, so it says, Dear Miss Daughtry, news of the excellent presentation you made at our local chapter of the National Restaurant Alliance has reached us here in Washington, and we are very impressed. Running a successful restaurant operation, as we all know, is tough, even on a good day. The intense pace is frenzied, from scrubbing the vegetables early in the morning to latching the front door at day's end. In all this haste, it's easy to lap into food service fault that can land an operation in big trouble. Your presentation, focusing on 7 cardinal sins in the food service industry, certainly captured our attention. So the next paragraph is still a little bit building interest and then continues with some benefits. All right, second last here. Our relaxed group doesn't expect a formal address. They are most interested in hearing about best practices and solutions to prospective problems. To make your talk easy to organize, I've enclosed a list of questions our members submitted. Most talks are about 45 minutes long. Can we count on you to join us for dinner at 7 p.m. on June 10th at the Red Sage Restaurant in Washington? And then they give a number. Okay, so this sounds pretty nice. But remember, you are trying to convince this person to come. It does, in the part that I skipped, it does mention that they'll pay for this person to come, which is always important. So again, an indirect benefit. They're giving up their time, but potentially they're making some extra money that they wouldn't have before. So again, if you'd like to read the whole thing, you can pause the video, but this is a good example of trying to persuade someone to, well, in this case, come and talk to your company. Okay, now let's look at making claims and requesting adjustments. So writing complaint letters. Persuasive claim and adjustment letters generally focus on damaged products, mistaken billing, inaccurate shipments, warranty problems, return policies, insurance glitches, faulty merchandise, and so on. The direct pattern is usually best for requesting straightforward adjustments. When you feel your request is justified, and it should be granted, then the direct strategy is most efficient. But if a past request has been refused before or ignored and you anticipate reluctance, then the indirect pattern is most appropriate. In a sense, a claim is a complaint letter. Someone's complaining about something that went wrong. Some complaint letters just vent anger. The writers are mad. They want to tell you about it. If the goal, however, is to change something, then persuasion will be necessary. Effective claim letters make a reasonable claim. They present a logical case with the clear facts and adopt a moderate tone. Anger and emotion are not effective persuaders. You will probably not get what you're looking for if you go down that path. So, a logical development. Strive for logical development in a claim letter. You might open with sincere praise or an objective statement about the problem, a point of agreement, something you and the reader can agree on, right? Things like in the letter we just read about the restaurant and how it can be super crazy and busy and you can get into a funk and things go wrong. So a point of agreement, a quick review of what you've done to solve the problem. Then you can explain precisely what happened or why the claim's legitimate. You don't need to provide a blow-by-blow chronology of the details, just the highlights, just the most important parts. Be sure to enclose copies of relevant invoices, shipping orders, warranty, payments, receipts, all of that if it's relevant. Close with a clear statement of what you want done. Do you want a refund, replacement of your product, credit to go to your account, or some other action? Be sure to think through the possibilities and make sure that your request is reasonable. All right, and you should also be using a moderate tone when you're doing this. So the tone of the letter is important. Just like your tone of your voice is important when you're talking to people, the tone of the letter is also very important. So don't suggest that the receiver intentionally deceived you or intentionally created the problem, even if you know it's true. Okay? So be careful not to accuse them of something because then they don't want to help you. So what you should try to do is appeal to the receiver's sense of responsibility and pride in their good name. Calmly express your disappointment in view of your high expectations of their product and of the company itself. Communicating your feelings without resentment is often your strongest appeal. So if it's at all possible, address your complaint letter to a specific person. So you might want to do some research before you send it. Or you could take the time to call the organization. Find out who you need to be talking to about this particular problem. Maybe it's a department head, so you will have to do some research. Who should know about your issue and who has the authority to fix it? These are important things when you're writing a letter or you want something changed. Addressing a specific person is more likely to generate action than addressing a generic customer service department. I'm sure they get tons of those letters, but if you take the time to find out more information about that department head, for example, it's more likely that it will land on their desk. Whether you address an individual or a department, the tone of your message, of course, should always be moderate. So let's look at an example letter here. All right. Dear Mr. Thomas, the subject is about Codaphone model 1008. We'll go with 8. Your Codaphone model 1008 answering unit came well recommended. We liked our neighbor's unit so well that we purchased 3 for different departments in our business. After the 3 units were unpacked and installed, we discovered a problem. Apparently our office's fluorescent lighting interferes with the electrical electronics in the units. When the lights are on, heavy static interrupts every telephone call. When the lights are off, then the static disappears. We can't replace the fluorescent lights, thus we tried to return the codophones to the place of our purchase, and then they give the address. Exactly. Do you see how specific that address is? A salesperson inspected the units, said that they could not be returned since they were not defective and they had been used. Because the descriptive literature and instructions for the codophones say nothing about avoiding use in rooms with fluorescent lighting, we expected no trouble. We were quite disappointed that the well-engineered unit, complement, with its time, date, stamp, room monitor, and auto dial features, failed to perform as we hoped it would. If you have a model with similar features that would work in our offices, give me a call. Otherwise, please authorize the return of these units and refund the purchase price of $519.45 and see the enclosed invoice. We're confident that a manufacturer with your reputation for excellent products and services will want to resolve this matter quickly. Nice, right? Not too bad. So you can see how the tone is moderate. Of course, they're probably angry, but you don't get that from the letter. And from the fourth and fifth paragraphs, kind of want to help these people, right? So this is good. This is what you should be aiming for. All right. So that is all for this video lecture about persuasive messages, and you can watch part 2 to get the rest of the information about this unit. Bye.